All right. Am I on? Is this thing on? All right. Am I on? I'm on. How about that? Bam. All right. Hello, 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 everybody. My name is Graham, and I am on a mission to reverse type 1 diabetes, one of the irreversible autoimmune diseases in our world today. I believe that we will be able to do it in our lifetime, and I'm currently going after it in a lot of naturopathic ways. I'm not opposed to other ways, but these things have been working for other things, and I believe very strongly that it is possible to do it in a naturopathic way. I just need to find the right key. And today we're going to talk about an experiment that I did based on the theory that type 1 diabetes was triggered and or caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium avium subspecies tuberculosis. I can't believe I memorized all of those syllables in the right order. So MAP, as it's called, and sometimes I found myself calling it MAPS, but whatever. So MAP is very prevalent in the food supply. It's a disease that kills cattle, is very prevalent in the United States beef industry. It gets into our grocery stores, into not just the beef, but into the milk. There are studies that have tested this. They went to grocery stores, took a bunch of milk off the shelf and tested it for MAP, and 2%, this is in Wisconsin, 2% had MAP, living MAP inside of it. So we are introducing this stuff into our bodies. Potentially, this theory for it affecting humans is that with you combine the exposure to the MAP virus through in your food, through your digestive tract, with maybe a leaky gut, and that stuff will come through. Maybe there's too much of it for your immune system to handle. It gets into you, gets a hold of you, triggers an autoimmune response. The reason this would trigger an autoimmune response rather than just a regular virus or bacteria is because this is a mycobacteria, which is a mimicking bacteria, mimics real human cells, and therefore it's hard for the autoimmune system, for the immune system, to target it. Okay, so this thing is very, very hard to get rid of in cattle. They basically have to kill a bunch of cattle, and then to try to cleanse, do a purge, if you will, on the farm. 95% of cattle farms with over 500 cows have it on their farm, and it gets into other animal supplies like chicken and pigs and all of the regular farm animals. Gets into that as well because it gets spread through the feces from the cattle, which is going to be everywhere on a cattle farm, tracked into the boots, into the butcher rooms where it spreads very rapidly. So I hope you're not eating after that description. But so one of the theories, I was reading the Mastering Diabetes book. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. They were talking about that as a potential. And so I was like, well, okay, if that's the potential, what's the number one thing that I know of to get rid of bacteria? And that is silver. And so there's different types of silver out there. I'm using a structured silver. This is I have on my shelf behind me. This is the gel. This is the brand I'm using. And it's been amazing for different types of viruses and bacteria for other ailments. So there's also a book on how to use silver for different diseases. And they had a section in there for tuberculosis. Okay. Now, tuberculosis is different from MAP, but it's related. So I said, well, what if and gave it a try. So my experiment that I am concluding today with this video, it's actually been concluded for a couple of weeks. But I'm making this video a few weeks later just because life. And the theory was so the treatment for tuberculosis, which is something that's found in the lungs, is to nebulize tuberculosis. Stay right there, don't move. Okay, so to nebulize silver, you're going to use a contraption called a nebulizer, and it basically takes liquid from a chamber, and it uses, if I remember right, it uses a piezoelectric method to get the water, which is going to be here. This is the chamber, into a very fine particle that can be inhaled and effective at getting into the bloodstream through the lungs. Okay, so now tuberculosis, which is found in the lungs, this was the treatment for it. Now MAP probably wasn't infecting my lungs. If it was MAP, it's probably infecting my gut or other things. Now I've been taking the recommended dose of silver for years, and I have not seen any improvements, measured any improvements, or noticed anything different as far as the type 1 diabetes is related. So I knew that treatment wasn't giving me the results that I needed. So I said, well, what if we adjust it a little bit? What if we say, so when you go through the digestive system, there's lots of guards in place to prevent viruses and bacteria from getting in. It can also prevent medication and other things from getting in. So I said, well, what if I bypass the digestive system, get silver right into my bloodstream faster by using my lungs? So yeah, I didn't die, so that's good. And so this is what it looks like, though. You're basically I did this. I put this on, strapped this on for 20 minutes at a time for almost 4 months, every single day. Half the time I did twice a day, half the time I did not. Towards the end there, I got, I would say a little bit, I wouldn't say lazy, but I was just barely getting this done at the very end, like the last thing before I went to sleep. It became a kind of a burden. I had tried to work it into my schedule, but it's something that you just got to build it into your lifestyle, and it's not the easiest thing to do that with. It's not as easy as fasting or something for me. So anyway, that was what I was doing. So this experiment was, will nebulizing silver reduce my autoimmune markers? And if that's the case, then it will potentially be killing something in my body that's creating the autoimmune response. And if I can then remove that, then I can heal the rest of my body, my pancreas and my gut and all that stuff. So let's look at some data. Data. Let's show you the data I'm looking at. That might be helpful. You're looking at the wrong screen. Let's give you the right screen. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking at are my reversal metrics that I'm using. I get a lot of labs done. I actually get 13 plus vials of blood taken every 3 months to measure a lot of different factors. These are the 3 that I'm focusing on for reversal. So the first one is C-peptide. This is not a stimulated C-peptide, so there are some questions as to the accuracy here. But what this does tell us is that my pancreas is still producing some insulin. Thank you, Jesus. And it has been fluctuating a little bit. So we are there's two ways to interpret this data. Either the ups or downs, which are highlighted in green and red, are just anomalies in data. They're caused by something that triggered it to be higher or lower on that particular day that I was getting my blood drawn. And in general, I'm right around 0.5 on the C-peptide. That's more of a flat line with some anomalies. Okay, that's one way to interpret the data. The other way to interpret the data is that that these movements in the C-peptide are caused by something that I was doing from my experiments. Okay, C-peptide is one thing, really not what I was expecting to be moved or changed by this experiment. What I was looking at are more of the autoimmune markers. So less of these would mean that the silver had or was in the process of killing off the infection, and therefore my immune system was responding with less of these antibodies. Okay, so what we need to, so you can see the dates here. We go back to 2018. We are focused right here between my two blood tests. Okay, so February 9th and May 10th. This is when I did my 3-ish months, a little over 3 months of nebulizing silver 1 or 2 times a day. I even did it on vacation. It was a little weird to do that in the middle of a hotel lobby, but you got to do what you got to do, right? So this is the data. So going from the previous blood draw, which is also an important data point, to I'm sorry, the previous blood draw was on the 9th, so right before I started doing the nebulization. Over 250 on the GAD. That you can see that's mostly what I get is over 250. I have had a few readings within range that were measurable, and I am zeroing in on those to try to figure out what happened there. The other autoimmune response that I was getting, antibodies, are the islet cell islet cell antibodies, IgG, and you can see here from these numbers, there was no movement in the antibodies. Okay, so that's what I was hoping would change. It did not. One thing that did change is I went down in C-peptide. Again, you can interpret that 2 different ways. If you're interpreting that it's changing, then the reason I believe this would have gone down is I did have higher A1C during this period. I was eating higher carb, lower fat for the most part, and am newer to, I was using insulin to counteract that, and I'm still kind of newer to using that on a regular basis and with different foods. I was not great at managing my blood sugars, so they were higher than they have been probably ever. So that could be a reason it's down. That's still open to interpretation. All right. So with that, let's see. While I have this open, I have made some notes on MAP. If you are interested in MAP, let me know in the comments. I can send you a bunch of the stuff that I've read and learned about this stuff as I was digging into the experiment. I will probably make a whole separate video just on that as a conclusion, or just as an in-depth dive into that for anyone else that wants to save some hours on research or at least get another data point from me and my interpretation of all the data. So so look forward to that. If you don't want to miss videos like that, go ahead and do the subscribe. That way you can see it when it comes up. Also, you might be interested in what I'm going to be doing next. I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of faith that this is going to be something that gets the difference. And I have some data that historical data that might be leading me to believe this is true. So if you're interested in that, and what I'm going to be doing next on all my experiments. Even after that, again, hit the subscribe so you get notified. Also, I don't mind doing this on my own, but I know more minds are better than one. So if you'd like to join me on this journey of self-experimentation, safely, of course, let me know. I'm going to try to put a group together that's going to be getting more clear experiments. The clearer, the better. We all have complicated lives. Nothing's going to be perfect. That's why we want to have more data points to kind of get our data together to really point to what is moving the needle in the right direction. So hit me up. I'm going to be putting that group together pretty soon, but I don't like to make promises because I make promises on things like that, and sometimes they don't happen. So just hit me up, DM me, comment me, and we'll go from there. All right, everybody. Again, this is Graham from Type What, wishing you a good day, and let's reverse type 1 diabetes, guys. We can do it. I have faith. I know we can do it. Adios.